The black clouds sagged low, catching the faint halo of the dying sun and staining the sky a bruised purple. Nathan lingered in his dilapidated pickup, his gloved hands trembling on the wheel. Gnarled trees clawed at the barbed wire fencing the lot, and in their shadows the old slaughterhouse shrugged deeper into rot. Every window was either shattered or fogged with ancient grease. The tin roof, warped and gapped, shuddered under a whip of wind. The air reeked of old iron, sickly sweet decay, and dampness that clawed up from the earth. Nathan swallowed, feeling the pinch of the thermos in his jacket pocket, the only warmth he'd carry inside. He cursed softly, gaze snagging on a figure waiting by the chained front gate. Mara, as thin and taut as wire, arms wrapped across her chest. Her eyes darted, fever bright, fixating on Nathan, then beyond him toward the mass of the slaughterhouse hunched against the sky. Henry joined them moments later, tall and silent, his breath clouding faintly, skin blotched with cold. Their trio, ragged and bruised by loss, had met in grief and stitched together by Mara's conviction. The answer was here, buried in stained floors and rusted hooks. A gust rattled the hanging chains as Nathan unlatched the gate, heart stuttering. The metal groaned a warning. The main entrance gaped, a broken maw, swallowing them. Inside, shadows crawled along the slatted walls. Gory stains speckled the concrete, long ago filth caked in the cracks. From overhead, a thicket of chains and shackles groaned softly with each shift of the wind. Nathan's breath came shallow. He felt the temperature drop, an unnatural chill snaking around his ankles. That old furnace, the one Mara obsessed over, was somewhere inside, waiting. They pressed deeper, boots echoing dully. The only light came from their headlamps, trembling beams knifing through the gloom. Nathan flinched at the echoes, at the scurrying of unseen vermin. He wasn't sure which was worse, the emptiness or the relentless feeling of being watched, the sense that something monstrous paced just outside the reach of their lamps. Obsession, Mara had said, was the only way to find the truth. But Nathan felt only dread, a gnawing certainty that some doors once opened could never be closed. Nathan's headlamp flickered, whining in the gut-punched silence. He edged nearer Mara, unease gnawing at his guts. "Don't you feel it?" Mara whispered, her voice barely a rasp. "It's colder here." Henry swept his lamp in a slow arc. Shadows inched along the walls, seeming thicker, a clotted blackness seeping from the seams. Above, the chains swung slightly, out of sync with the movements below as if tugged by invisible hands. From a corridor to the left, a sound spilled, a faint, dragging clank. Nathan stiffened, pulse thumping as silence pooled in its wake. He caught a whiff of something sharper than even the rot. The metallic tang of scorched iron. He remembered Mara's late-night phone calls. Her voice fevered. Records say it's beneath the eastern chamber. Sealed. Waiting. Footsteps echoed from deep inside. Too heavy, uncertainly paced. Nathan's lamp snagged on a bloody handprint, smeared across a control box, the stain impossibly fresh. Henry shifted uneasily, muttering, "That wasn't here 3 years ago." A hush thickened the air. Nathan sensed with animal certainty that something else occupied the space between the chains, watching with malicious patience. The wind outside died, and beneath its stillness, the building exhaled, a deep furnace-like moan in the bones of the walls. The warning that followed felt almost deliberate. Stay out or be consumed. Mara moved, eyes lit with fanatic light. We're close. It wants us to find it. Nathan's grip on reality loosened, each step forward sloughing away reason. They walked in Mara's wake as she traced the map she'd memorized from blueprints, her calculated obsession pushing them through doorways that groaned and bent. "We have to go to the sub-level," Mara whispered. "That's where the furnace is." Nathan's throat cracked. Henry grumbled, "Why? Just for your story?" "The people who disappeared," Mara pressed on. "Those men, the children from the surrounding farms. None of their bodies were ever found. There's at the furnace. Burned things. Even flesh couldn't erase." Her voice dropped. "I need to know, Nathan. Or I'll rot with the wondering." They descended rust-slicked stairs. Every footfall shaking rust from broken balusters. The sub-level air pressed cold through their jackets, wet and heavy as a cellar. Chains hung denser here, spattered with dark ancient drips. A network of drainage channels choked with caked scum mapped the floor to a wide, soot-blackened door set into the heart of the concrete wall. The furnace door. Nathan's lamp flickered. He caught his breath, the image burned into mind. Door was flat black, bigger than a grave, breathing in the torchlight's shimmer. A line of handprints trailed across the metal, some tiny, some long-fingered, all fused in rusty stains, the shape of desperate, dragging loss. Henry stepped close, his eyes shuttered. "Christ, Mara, this is wrong." But Mara, trembling, reached for the wheel beside the massive door. The silence sucked tight, so thick Nathan could hear his blood skitter. "If there's a truth here, it's on the other side," she breathed. She turned the wheel. With a dead, grinding whine, it budged. Once, twice, then more as steel teeth unlocked. The door jutted inward a crack, and breath billowed from the dark seam, hot and fetid. a stench of cooked hair and unveiling ruin that made Henry choke and Nathan's knees watery. From within, a red warmth unfurled, and the chains above shuddered in response, as if animated by a pulse. Nathan glimpsed the walls near the door, seeing shapes scorched into the concrete, flayed silhouettes, and mouthless masks formed by ancient fire. The heat licked out, hungry. Nearby, a pile of melted metal tags, cow, pig, and man alike, had congealed in the decades-old soot. It didn't feel like a machine. The space behind the furnace door thrummed with a dreadful consciousness, a crawling sentience patient from centuries' hunger. Mara pressed closer, drawn helpless by her craving for what lay past the threshold. "Don't you hear it?" she said, eyes glassy. "It's promising answers." A sound, not quite human, echoed from within. A scraping, muffled thing, as though something shifted in the furnace's guts. The door groaned wider, heat slicking the wall in a black-orange haze. The chain above Henry's head twitched once, then lashed downwards with all the ragged violence of a trap sprung. Steel wrapped around Henry's throat. He screamed, arms pinwheeling, eyes bulging, feet kicking as he was hoisted off the ground. In the smeared orange light, another chain shot out, wrapping his wrists. Henry's body writhed, then fell slack. Chains, rattling low, dragged him toward the furnace mouth, backlit by an eldritch glow. For a moment, his shoes scraped desperate marks in the grime, then were swallowed beyond the opening. Mara collapsed, sobs strangling in her throat. "It's not supposed to. It's supposed to show us," she choked. Nathan grabbed her arm as she surged to follow. "No," he barked, but the compulsion burning in Mara's eyes was infectious, echoing inside him now, too. A cacophony rose. Inhuman, metallic laughter, the titter of chains, the squelch of something boiling in the dark. The furnace door yawned open fully, heat pressing fingerprints of pain into Nathan's cheeks. Old chains overhead clattered in sync with Nathan's frantic pulse, casting spiderweb shadows. Light flickered in the haze, shapes shifting in the heat. Bodies trapped in half-melted agony, eyes milky and pleading. Above, distorted faces screeched wordless warnings. Nathan's voice frayed. "Mara, we have to go. Now." But Mara, rambling, remembered all the dead. Her obsession, once pursuit of answers, had ripened into enthralled surrender. She dragged herself upright, shoving past him. "They're in there. I saw their faces. My brother, too." Her words were fevered, the boundary between reality and her hunger blurring. He tried to grab her, but the heat pressed back, and a chorus of voices rose from the furnace, thousandfold, whispering promises. "Come see," they pleaded. "Come know." In that drowned moment, Nathan saw himself through Mara's eyes. Empty, haunted by loss, needing meaning at any price. Needing. His own obsessions grinned at him from the molten dark. The furnace beckoned, alive and patient. Chains lashed him, catching his jacket. He tore free, skin grazing on rust, the pain a lifeline. Mara vanished beyond the threshold. Her scream lasted only a moment before melting into silence, the heat swelling in satisfaction. Nathan staggered backward, blinded by smoke, head spinning. He retraced his steps through groping blackness, metal tags biting at his boots, chains singing taunts overhead. Each step, the furnace's laughter echoed in his skull. You, too, will return. Nathan found the stairwell, hurtling up with frantic speed. The groans and clangor of the damned furnace pursued him. With every heartbeat, his memory of Mara's voice raked at him, her desperate need for answers fusing into a howl in his mind. He burst into the main processing room, collapsing, lungs raking at the fetid air. Disoriented, lightheaded, Nathan sobbed for the first time in years. Henry and Mara, swallowed by the thing they had unleashed. The old pain of loss, the new agony of failure. Outside, the gloom pressed in, filthy snow beginning to fall, muffling the world. Nathan dragged himself to the open doorway, no longer caring for the chains that raked his shoulders, for the cold biting his flesh. Every shadow walked with him. The building spat a belch of heat, a final warning. Behind, the furnace door clicked shut, almost content. Dawn came slow, seeping through bruised clouds, finding Nathan shivering beside the cold iron fence, knees pressed to his chest. His phone was gone. His mind spun on a single axis. Answers. 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 Mara's compulsion dogging him like a fever. He didn't dare look back, but every puff of wind seemed to exhale hot and fouled, carrying fragments of voices from beyond the furnace door. Rescue never came. Nathan wandered through that day and the next, circling the slaughterhouse, unwilling to leave. Each night he was drawn to the chained gates, peering in through frost-glazed glass, listening for the creak of steel and the promise of returning fire. The furnace's laugh threaded every dream, every waking moment. In flashes, he saw their faces, his own among them, mottled with soot and remembered longing. He pressed his ear to the iron at dusk, feeling the pulse behind, the compulsion to understand baking into something hotter, blinder. The more he struggled, the more he felt himself slipping. Obsession burned away everything but the raw, shuddering need. On the seventh night, the furnace door yawned open again. Just a crack. And Nathan, at last, slipped through. The heat welcomed him, sweeter than memory. and the chains lifted him with gentle care. The laughter that followed was no longer cruel, simply inevitable. And so, the slaughterhouse waits, kneeling in its field of rust, cycling the same old hunger. Those who seek answers return, chained to the urge to know, until yearning and flesh and soul are smelted into the pulsing furnace door. A mouth that never stops eating, a need that never cools, forever fed by the bones of the obsessed.